Okay, this is 373 week 4 part 5. All right, we're doing pretty good. Um, I should probably talk about your papers at some point. I always forget. I fucking hate assignments. I really wish you could just come to school and learn shit and go home. And I wish we didn't have papers or degrees or any of that stuff. I think you should just come and learn things. And if you want to write something, write something. And if you don't. That would be fun. But we do have to do them. Sorry, this thing in my pocket is a power cord because I need to. My phone's low on charge. Mm, just some things you can talk about in your papers. Do not write about House of Cards, please, please. I'd actually prefer it if you didn't write about Joker and Harley Quinn because I've read that paper too many times too. Although I'd be interested in Harley Quinn the TV show because that would be new. Um, Also, fuck, write about things you actually give a shit about. You see me connecting to shit that I like? You do that. Your turn now. I hate students who look stuff up on the internet like, what should I compare Macbeth to? Like, don't do that. You think of something that you like things, and look, if it's an anime I never heard of, fucking explain it to me, man. I don't know. You listen to me talk about Shakespeare all day. I think you owe me. You should tell me something about anime if you want to write about anime. I had a cool paper about Macbeth, and that there's an anime that's like Seven Deadly Sins or something. I don't know. Anyway, it was interesting. Um, Things you could write about. You can write about men and women, masculinity, femininity. So think about shows that have that, or TV shows, or movies, or whatever you like. Or video games. Um, uh, Violence certainly is interesting. Performance, stage stuff is interesting, but also imagination stuff. Hallucinations, schizophrenia, vivid imaginations, talking to people that aren't there. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can write about in there that you can kind of connect some of these themes and ideas to. Powerful women. Remember, you don't have to compare the entire play to the entire other thing. You can just compare one character from this to, you can take one character out of Macbeth to one character in a video game, write your whole paper about that. So anyway, just give it some thought. I don't know. I fucking hate talking about assignments. Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna keep going then. I think we're getting into some interesting territory now, and we will see how this goes. So, I think I'm done with that. Banquo, the thing. Yeah, I did it all. I'm good. God, I love that joke so much. He's not over there. He's over there. Makes me really happy. Um, Macbeth, he meets the witches again, and they give him the prophecies. And I explain the prophecies to you, but the prophecies are quite confusing, I will admit. Partly because they say like you'll be safe till Burnham Wood comes to Dunsinane, but I don't know how the fuck you're supposed to know that Dunsinane is the name of his castle, or that Burnham Wood is the name of the woods near his castle. How are you supposed to know that? Like it doesn't say. You'd have to. How would you know without a footnote? Um, I do like the way they do it in the movie though with the ashes. It's just I like the orange fire and it's just that's fucking cool because it feels like hell and that's what it is. Macbeth is like Satan, the king of hell. It's fucking cool. Um, so Macbeth goes to see the witches and they give him the equivocating prophecies and they're all very confusing and he misinterprets all of them. He can't help it. But one of the things they say is beware Macduff. And he's like, okay, I don't like that guy anyway because he left the feast. He walked out. That's kind of a big no-no. If you're the king, you don't like walk out of dinner with the king. Oh my God! Also, can I say how much I love that Macduff's wife is played by Elizabeth Debicki because she's like 11 and a half feet tall and she's so beautiful. I just love her so much. She's fantastic. She's great. She would be. I would be. I don't even know. I would be like her sternum. I don't know. She's so big. I love her. She's in that Tenant thing. That movie made no fucking sense. Um, what the fuck was I gonna say? I do like the weird makeup eyeshadow in the movie with the women have these like bars of blue. It's fucking cool. Um, what the fuck was I talking about? Oh, he goes to see the witches and they give him the prophecies, and the prophecies are confusing. I'll talk about this next. So they give him the prophecies, and one of the prophecies is beware Macduff. But then they also say no man of woman born can harm you. So he's like, okay, then why do I have to beware Macduff? And he's like, you know what? Just to be double sure, fucking kill that guy. Because again, Macbeth's solution to every fucking problem is murder. Um, that's just the witches. The witches never told him to kill anybody. I love it so much. Um, hmm. Actually, I could talk for a second about those prophecies. I mentioned that the witches don't really put any ideas in his mind that aren't there already. It feels like he's already pretty murderous. He's ready to kill King Duncan nice and fast. Um, him and Lady Macbeth seem both ready to go. And he hesitates, but she doesn't. Um, it's interesting, though, to think what would have happened if the witches hadn't come to him. There's a moment in The Matrix. I'll put a little clip of it if I can find it. But there's a cool moment in The Matrix where Neo goes to see the Oracle who knows the future. And she's this like old lady making cookies. And he comes into her room and she's supposed to know the future. And she comes in. And as soon as he comes in, she goes, don't worry about the vase. And he says, What vase? And he knocks over a vase. And he goes, I'm sorry. And she goes, I said, don't worry about it. And he said, how did you know that would happen? And she says, oh, that's not the real problem. He says, what's really going to bake your noggin later is would you have knocked it over if I hadn't said anything? That raises a really interesting question with Macbeth, which is, would the the witches do the witches predict the future, or do the witches cause the future by telling people about their predictions? Like, what if the witches had never? What if they were busy that day and they didn't visit Macbeth? Would somebody have had a heart attack, or would he have killed Duncan on his own? Would Duncan would have died of natural causes, and Macbeth would have become king anyway somehow? Um, because they tell him he's going to be king, and when they tell him that, he's like, I should go murder him, and then he makes it happen. So if they hadn't said anything, would the prophecy have come true? If you're a Harry Potter fan, this is actually it's very hard to follow in Harry Potter, but there's a little thread of this in Harry Potter, which is that there's a prophecy that Harry Potter is going to kill Voldemort. So Voldemort decides, I'm going to kill that kid and his whole goddamn family. And he kills Harry Potter's parents, which causes, and then Harry Potter's mother, as she's dying, gives him this sort of protection spell, and then that guides him for his whole life, and then he's able to defeat Voldemort. So it's like, if Voldemort had, the prophecy was Harry Potter's going to kill Voldemort. If Voldemort hadn't responded to the prophecy by murdering Harry Potter's whole family, then Harry Potter never would have been guided by his mother's spirit, and he wouldn't have had the journey that he had been on, which ended with him killing Voldemort. So it kind of feels like Voldemort killed himself by killing Harry Potter's family, which led Harry Potter to the path that would get him killed. Whereas if he just left them alone, maybe it wouldn't have happened. I don't know. It's prophecy issues. Prophecy is basically time travel, right? Because prophecy is information about the future that is arriving in the present, which means when you start thinking about prophecy, you end up with all the same paradoxes of time travel and the movie Tenet, and that kind of, what if I go back in time and kill my own grandfather? Then I was never born, which meant I never went back in time, so I couldn't have killed my grandfather, so my grandfather's alive. But if he's alive, then I was born and then I went back in time. And blah, you don't want to do that. I'm having fun. I'm not even caffeined up. I'm just having a good time. Okay, so Macduff and the prophecy. So the prophecy is, beware Macduff, but then also, no man of woman born can harm you. And Beck's like, well, good, I'm glad I'm invincible. But you know what, just to be double sure, I'm going to kill Macduff, because murder is Macbeth's solution to everything. To everything. And so he says, the castle Macduff I will surprise, seize upon Fife, that's where he lives. Give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes, and all unfortunates that trace him in his line. There's something in here, I think, about the ways in which Macbeth can't have children, so he kills children. He tries to kill Fleance, he kills Macduff's whole family, his wife, his children. In the movie, he burns them alive. That feels very much like a reference to Game of Thrones, which was around the same time the movie was made, very popular, had a lot of burnings. It actually looks exactly like the opening of season 2 of Game of Thrones. I loved Game of Thrones, and then I fucking hated the ending, and that whole thing was a goddamn waste of time. No, I'm not doing that. There's a strong Cersei Lady Macbeth connection. Very similar kind of characters. Yeah. So there's an idea that Macbeth maybe can't have children, and so he kills other people's children. And if you think about it, in a way, killing children is about being angry at the future, which, of course, for a guy haunted by prophecy, makes a lot of sense. He's angry at the future, and so what do you kill? You kill people who are going to grow up and be the future. You kill, the next generation is what he does. That's also what Tenet is about. No, wait, Tenet is about the future trying to kill the past. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck that movie's about. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Cool. And one more little stupid thing before I close this video out and move on to the next one. Malcolm is complaining about how bad the country is, and he says, our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. In a play obsessed with men and women, it's interesting that the country is described as female. We often do that, the motherland. Sometimes we say the fatherland and make the country male, and sometimes we say the motherland. Or you're hurting our country, she is wounded. Lady Liberty is the symbol of America, and it's a woman. But notice that Macbeth's whole thing is violence and violence against women. And so the idea that he's committing violence, he's a terrible king, and he's doing terrible things to his country. And the people talking about him imagine the country to be female, like he is destroying a woman, which is something that he does, since he's about to murder Lady Macduff and their whole goddamn family. See you in the next video.